Hi everyone, this is Rachel from the healthyroom.com and periodwhisperer.com websites. This is my safety and myth busting video series playlist on essential oils. These are all bite-sized videos that will take you through various different safety and myth busting topics, and whether or not you should ingest your essential oil is probably the biggest contention topic I have found out there. It causes so much controversy and debate, and there are reasons for both sides of the argument, and I'm going to cover that in this video. So what does ingestion mean? Simply put, when you ingest an essential oil, you are eating or drinking that essential oil in some way. And I'm going to take you through the controversy of this and why people say what they do on both sides, and hopefully you will then be in a position to make your own mind up yourself. So first of all, let's look at the liabilities. So in many countries, you can only recommend ingestion if you're qualified to prescribe medicine internally. There are all sorts of reasons, such as professional indemnity, meaning your insurance company won't cover you if someone becomes injured because you recommended this, and also legal reasons, such as you don't want to be caught prescribing medicine without a license. And I have to say, this depends from country to country on what the rules are. However, in the days of the internet, anyone from any country can view any website, so you do have to be super careful what you say. The qualifications that I found when I was looking into being able to prescribe essential oils internally for internal use require me to still find a doctor or a prescriber to sign off, even if I've done the full medical history, I've come up with everything that they need. I would still need someone with a prescribing license to sign that off legally, and I'm in the UK. In some countries, only medically qualified people can do aromatherapy, and in some countries, only medically qualified people can do massage because it's along the same line as chiropractor, osteopathy, physiotherapy, and it's considered to be a medical qualification. In this case, they also have a prescribing license, and it comes underneath that umbrella. What I really love actually is in Germany, about a third of the prescriptions are apparently for herbal medicine, and herbal medicine includes aromatherapy. So in some countries, doctors are far more open to prescribing more plant-based medicines. So just to talk about this is theoretically because I don't know of a case of this happening, so I don't want to come out with the scaremonger thing, but just from a theoretical point of view, it could be that if you recommended the use internally of an essential oil and it caused a reaction that required medicalisation of any kind, that you could be liable for compensation. You could be liable to cover the medical fees that that person incurred. And if you don't have insurance because you're not qualified to do so and you're going outside the scope of your qualifications or your abilities or what your insurance dictates that you can and cannot provide to your clients, then you could be liable for paying all that yourself. Again, depending whether you're a limited company or a sole trader, there's so many things that play into that, but this is a theoretical just to give you an idea. Also, theoretically, in some countries, you might be prosecuted for practicing internal medicine without a license if you don't have one. Again, it varies from country to country, and I've never heard of this happening, but it is a theoretical that I've heard discussed as a theoretical in many places, including the training school that I went to. So, is it actually possible to ingest an essential oil safely? So, yes, some oils are safe to ingest, but some of them have to be prepared in certain ways, for example, diluted or put within a capsule. By the way, you will hear people talking about diluting essential oils with water. You cannot dilute oil with water. Please grab a glass of water and pour some cooking oil on top and tell me whether it truly dilutes. You'll find it floats on top, and even if you mix it with a straw or a stirrer, it will temporarily mix and then separate out again. if you do ingest essential oils, it needs to be done with an oil or a fat, and some of them need to be prepared in capsules. And when essential oils are used for flavourings, they are diluted first to very small doses, again with fats and oils. So if they are used as flavourings in foods, they are being diluted down with perhaps milk or dairy produce or other oils before they are added to things for flavourings. And they are quite cheap to use because you don't need to use much to get such a big flavour from them because they are so concentrated. So yes, they can be used internally. And some oils may even have beneficial effects on the digestive system when they are ingested. However, there is a danger side as well. Some oils can cause damage to the soft tissue of the digestive system, depending on which bit of the system they come into contact to. Some oils can have very serious contraindications for digestion. And before you consume this oil, you should have a full medical history, your current medical conditions, and a list of medications should be checked over. Your body mass comes into it, whether you're male or female, how old you are. All these things can affect whether an oil is safe for you to use, whether you're pregnant or not. All these things have an effect, and it is actually very in depth, as is prescribing other medications. It can also be that some oils are safe to use internally, but only in low dilutions, or they have to be prepared in specific ways. If not, then you might cause more damage than the initial problem you're trying to address with the essential oil. And I really want to highlight the fact that they are still medicines and they are still very potent and can have unintended side effects. One classical example of this is I know someone that was using oregano oil topically to treat a bladder infection, so cystitis. But actually, they were using it really frequently and they were not repopulating their gut with the right kind of bacteria and eating the kind of foods to support the growth of the right bacteria in their system. So they wiped down everything and actually it just led to more and more problems. Now, when you apply things topically, you're dealing with much lower amounts being absorbed by your system than if you're taking things internally. When you take things internally, one, you can't remove them because if you apply things topically, you can remove the excess residue by washing off with soap and water or by diluting further with a carrier oil. You can't do that with something you've taken externally, it's in your system. And it would take a toxicologist with specialist knowledge to know what to bind to it to make it less active. So it's really quite complex, and I just want to say essential oils are amazing, but they are still medicines and they are still very potent and can have unintended side effects, and it's worth bearing that in mind. Now, is there an alternative? Well, yes, there are. Essential oils can still have very powerful effects when they are inhaled and when they are applied topically. So you can have inhalers, you can have diffusers, you can apply things topically to your skin through massage or even self-massage. So there are plenty of things you can do. And often when people say never ingest essential oil, this is shorthand for I don't have time to give you the long-winded explanation of every oil and how you should be taking it internally, or I know it's a lot more complex than a straightforward yes, do it, or no, don't do it, and I don't have that information, or I'm not qualified to give that information. So it is safer and easier for me to tell you to never ingest. It's like when someone's learning to drive. You could say beginners should never drive in rain, thunderstorms, on ice. Now we know that as someone becomes more improved, that they can have lessons to teach them how to drive in those conditions, and they eventually will learn to drive in those conditions. But to start with, it's easier to say, don't do that for now. And this is the same theory. So when people say never ingest, that is why. There is also some people saying never ingest because their tutors, when they did their aromatherapy qualification, didn't have the time or inclination to give the long-winded explanation. And because they can't teach it, they can only teach people how to apply topically, how to diffuse safely as part of their aromatherapy qualification. They're just going to tell them to say never ingest because that's the safest thing to do. There is nothing wrong with that recommendation. It's just not the full story, but as we learn with everything at school, you learn the basic version and then the next year you have to unlearn it and relearn it a different way. I certainly found that with science anyway. It felt like every time you learnt a new concept, you would revisit it later and be told what was wrong with that concept, but you were given a very simplified version until you could understand the next concept that came along. And just have a think, is it really worth the risk of ingesting when there are other safer methods of application available, such as inhaling, diffusing, and applying your essential oils topically? I hope that helped you to see both sides of the argument and will help you make a decision that's right for you. Unless, as I said, I do the right qualification, I will never recommend that people ingest oils. But if you go away and have a think about what's right for you and look at the laws in your country, that might help you make a decision for you. Now, if you want to know more about how to use essential oils for period pain and more about how to use them safely, how to patch test, how to dilute them, how to record all this, then I do have a course called Periodology, Love Your Period, which is all about making your period more enjoyable and less painful. It includes first aid for your periods, information on what your period actually is, how periods are viewed around the world, going back to your first period experience with lots of journaling prompts and things that you can explore. It's got meditations for each phase of your cycle, and it also includes things such as essential oils and even trying crystal therapy for period pain, as well as other standard sort of first aid for period pain, natural remedies that are out there. We also go through other alternatives to standard period products that can reduce your pain and also help you go closer to a zero waste period. And they're far more easier to use than you think, but it can be so overwhelming. So all that is included in the Periodology Love Your Period course. If you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be in the link below the video. If you're watching this on my website, there'll be a link near this video somewhere. And my website is thehealthywomb.com and periodwhisperer.com. Have a great day. Bye.